Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well. So, Anthony Brian Logan, he did a video that was about a single mom with three different baby daddies, and she was being very rude to one of her child's fathers. He brought some McDonald's food for his son, and she was screaming at him about why he didn't bring food for all three. She eventually tossed this food onto the ground and refused to let her son eat the food that his father brought. And this made me really think about how, on the surface, some people might say, bring some for everyone. If you're a babysitter, you have to bring food for everyone. If you're the stepfather, you're with the single mother as an intimate couple, and you only have one child with her, but she has two others, but you're living with her, and you're a couple, then obviously you have an obligation. But this man was not her husband or her boyfriend, and he was just bringing food for his son and wanted to give food to his son, which apparently this was something he does all the time. And she was screaming at him in the street, saying that he's not a good dad because he didn't bring food for all of her kids. The father replied of the boy, "We're all the baby daddies, basically. It's not his responsibility." And she was saying she doesn't get her food stamps until later and whatnot. And this is really something I think more men have to think about before they jump in the bed with a woman who has a nice top or bottom, or both. Because the lifetime of headache that you'll get from Cardi B wannabe women and these ghetto queens and just all kinds of trashy people, you better be careful. And that's why choosing a pious woman is usually a better bet. And also why women should strive to not be like those women who are catty, jive, rude, abusive, belligerent, and highly difficult. Because the children are hearing it and you're chasing away a good man from being involved in his son's life. Anthony Brian Logan pointed out how she's bullying him and coercing him and trying to get him to pay for all her kids, right? And I thought that's a very good point, because she is coercing him, shaming him, when he has nothing to be ashamed of. And women who are saying, he should have brought food for all of them, it's not his job to feed those kids who are not his when he's not with that woman. Now, he can do a kindness once in a while, but also the mom can just say, go to the car and eat so that your siblings don't feel jealous, right? There's a definite way to make sure that everyone can be happy and the father can spend time with his son. And it's really tragic how feminism makes some of these women really wild, how it makes them entitled, and it makes them very aggressive towards men, instead of seeing the man being around as a blessing. And I feel really sorry for him. And it's really sad that the children will have a mother like that who throws food on the ground, refuses to cook, and is someone who hollers in the street for all to hear. And she was recording the video saying, "I'm going to expose you because you're not really a good dad." He's a good dad to his son. He doesn't have to be the father to children that are not his, to a woman he is not with. And I feel like if you're a stay-at-home mom, you have a lot of work to do with cooking. And if you are on welfare living off the government, you need to figure out how to cook good food, how to get a bag of flour, how you do that, and make meals last. You have a lot of time on your hands because you don't have a job. You can make your home life your job. And I think this is one of the saddest parts, is that these women who won't close their legs, who are violent, belligerent, psychologically abusive, who live off the government, still act like they're a strong, independent woman when they're not, refuse to cook, and then bring dishonor to stay-at-home moms. Now, most stay-at-home moms have a partner, a lover, a spouse, a husband, you name it, whatever synonym you want to use for the word, and they do their duty to their husband, their lover, their spouse, you name it, and provide a comfortable existence for their children. And I've often explained how if you have milk, eggs, butter, salt, sugar, a bag of flour, bag of beans and rice, you name it, you can make a lot of different kinds of foods. Cornmeal, I mean, you name it. You name it. You just have to get creative and put your best foot forward. But some of these women who live off the government, they'll make sure they'll have their nails done, their makeup full of, just full on 17 layers, but they're aggressive and can't attract a man, and then become bitter, wild, insane women who bully men into trying to trap them into their bedroom, right? And I really feel sorry for men who made the mistake of sleeping with a woman who they really shouldn't have. And I feel very sorry for the children who have mothers who refuse to cook. Again, if you're going to live off the government, you need to do something productive with yourself. So you have a smartphone, educate yourself. There's so many things you can learn for free online. There's so many programs out there, and cooking is a wonderful skill. But bullying one of your baby daddies into paying for all your kids' food is not the way to go about it. You have to find a way to make ends meet. Go to a food bank. You need to do what has to be done. There's too many programs out there now. And women in poverty who don't have government assistance make ends meet. And this is why it's better to be poor on a farm than poor in the city on food stamps where you can't grow your own food. Because if you can harvest your own chickens, gather your own eggs, grow your own, beans and corn and stuff, you may not be rich, but you always got food. And you have space and fresh air. But if you want to live in the hoods, that's the concrete jungle, and that's a food desert. And you better go to the bodegas, and you better make sure you can make a good meal happen with whatever you have. So, personally, I felt really bad for the guy, because he's doing the right thing by bringing his son food every day. Even though it's unhealthy food, I'd argue. He's still doing something to be active in the child's life. And for an abusive single mom with 3 baby daddies living on welfare, who's got more attitude than Nicki Minaj, to degrade him and film him and bully him into feeding all her children, I think that's absurd. Now, when I was growing up, I was with a babysitter once, and they brought food, and they didn't give me any because they expected my dad to pay for it, but they were the ones in charge of babysitting. So that's their job. If you're going to be a babysitter, you need to feed everybody. Now, if I was a single mom and I had multiple kids, which I don't, and I'm like, let's say I'm in the shoes of this lady. If he brought food for his child and not the other children, I'd have no problem with letting the child go to the car to eat, or simply telling the children their dad brought them a treat. And if my kid wants to cut it up at the burger in 4 pieces, right, and share, subhanallah, good for them. But I also can make all kinds of food. And I'll make sure my babies always have something. And it's not good to be combative with your daughter's father. You need to keep them in the child's life because fathers matter. To chase them away because she couldn't keep her legs closed and pick better men and be a better woman and couldn't keep those men in a loving relationship and whatnot. That's her deficiency. And she should not be bullying the man and trying to extract more of his money when he probably has a girlfriend, he has another family, right? Mind you, kids like that also get child support. So she's got child support for 3 kids, plus food stamps, and that's a lot of government subsidies, okay? If you're just really just soaking up off the government and you're not humble and being a sort of caregiver and nurturing to your children and you're still just a sour, angry cougar, there's something wrong with you inherently, and you shouldn't blame anyone except yourself that you're single and that good men run far, far away from you. And I think more women should talk about this, because if you got 3 baby daddies and you want to go get another guy, a good quality man, and you got an attitude like that, I mean, that's a lot of money for a dude to take on, okay? And you better be kind, loving, helpful, dutiful, submissive if you want a guy to take on that much baggage. I would say that you should just accept to be single and do your best to be a good grandma in the future. But if I was counseling my brothers, I would never tell them to date a single mom with 3 kids by 3 different people. I would tell them that's not going to be a good road for you. 2, I understand. 1, you understand, you're like, okay, but 3, getting into 4. I mean, what's even more a little creepy for me is a woman with 5 children and then getting someone new. I mean, that's a lot of kids to feed. You know, that's quite a lot. And I feel like there comes a point where you gotta wait till those children are grown up, you know, or you gotta really make sure that you are gonna be the best wife that's ever existed. But again, this is why men have to be very careful with who they sleep with and not let their one-eyed friend, as we put it, get them into trouble and get them into a trap. Because women like that are going to give you a headache for like 18 years. I mean, it's never going to stop. And you need to think, is 10 minutes worth of intercourse with this crazy woman while you're drunk or high worth it? I know Muslim brothers, most of the time they pick good women. I'm talking to kind of non-Muslims here. So be careful. Don't fall for the temporary beauty. Look at the attitude, right? Look at the attitude, see her character, and really convince yourself to be cautious. Because there's nothing worse than having a combative single mom who makes your life hell when all you want to do is see your son or your daughter. And more women need to help other women to calm down and be more relaxed. And that this ghetto catty gangsta thug attitude is unhealthy. And that you need to break free from it and cut off the music and the influencers who encourage you to treat men in this way, because it leaves you in the dust, living in the hood, sucking off the government, instead of happy on a farm, happy in a marriage, being spiritually content with what you have, stuff like that. So it's very interesting. If you want to watch the video, you go to Anthony Brian Logan's page, ABL, and you can see the full video. I'm sure you might come across it in other channels, but it is shocking just how some of these people behave in this world now. And I'm sure it's not the only woman who's done it, but we as women must remember that having a man around is a wonderful thing, and don't ever try to separate a son from his father.